Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Happy Friday, happy Saturday, wherever you are in the world. This is USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is fashion, travel, and fitness, three of my favorite topics. So please do buckle in and enjoy this fabulous show that we're going to be presenting to you today. We have a wonderful guest who actually was with us yesterday. If you were available watching any of our shows, we always love when people come back to see us because it's a sign that we must be doing something right, that people want to come and share their story. So Kendra DODD is here with us today. We were just talking about the fact that she has her master's degree and a lot of evolution has taken place since that time. We're also talking a little bit about fashion and how her fashion sense has changed over the years. So we're going to hear more about that. She's a development strategist and organizational effectiveness expert and a professional facilitator, as well as an author. She's an expert when it comes to all things in human resources. Let's welcome Kendra DODD to the show. Hello.
Hello. So good to see you again.
Thank you. So good to see you. As I mentioned backstage, you're looking very pretty in pink today. Pink background, pink lipstick, pink. Is it a dress, a shirt, a top?
It's a dress. It's a dress. Actually. Yes.
Very nice. So let's just get right into it. We're going to talk a little bit about your background first, and then we'll talk about the three topics for today, because the title that we came up with is Embracing Culture, a Journey of Personal Perspective, Communication, Wellbeing, and Purpose. And I feel like these three topics underneath that, fashion, fitness, and travel, all lead up to that as well. So Kendra, tell us about your area of expertise when it comes to human resources.
Oh, I've been doing it. I was in human resources before it became human resources, really. When I received my undergrad, it was like a pilot. Back then, over 30 years ago, it was called still personnel. If some people still remember the personnel department. And so the concept of human resources, that is and now the evolution is human capital, and understanding that people are a key resource when it comes to productivity, when it comes to success within an organization, I think is very important. So it was so much fun, and I received my master's in it because it is such an evolving career. So seeing it in the past 3 decades has been amazing. Yes, I know people may be surprised that I've been doing this and have been part of it for the past 3 decades, but I have. And so I have worked in major corporations. So when I graduated from grad school, I decided I wanted to work for Fortune 100 companies, bigger organizations that understood the concept of human resources. And that was the foundation, which was the best. I wouldn't change it for the world, of that opportunity of being in larger organizations and understanding the importance and the partnership that human resources provide to businesses.
Thank you, Kendra. I'm actually smiling because I remember when it was personnel. So, you know what's funny also, I was in corporate up until 2020. That's not funny, but they had the handbooks that they would give you. And over time, the handbook became larger and larger and was including things like fashion, like fitness, like health and mental well-being. So where have you seen the most number of changes when it comes to fashion, travel, and fitness? Travel, what I think of human resources is managing the budget, right? You are able to travel. Maybe it's first class, it's business class, or maybe it's coach.
Mhm.
Maybe it's so many times per year. But I think there's an evolution of fashion, travel, and fitness when it comes to human resources. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that I remember, even when it comes to travel, is who travels and how is that travel and how do you think about it? So, for example, one of the major corporations that the rule was that the executives could not be on the same flight together. Like that was a handbook rule. And the reason being is something was to happen to that flight or something, inevitable, sadly would happen. All the senior executives running a certain district or area would have been on that flight. So one of the rules was we could not travel together. You could only have a certain maximum amount of people that could travel together, which really then talk about, I don't feel important. So, hey, we had to coordinate together within each other of, okay, which flight are you on? What flight are you on? But the executive assistants did most of that. So when it comes to travel, we're dealing with it right now with Delta, right? Of will you get stranded? What will happen? Not even from something that is a bad catastrophe, but something in which simple as, do you need to get to that meeting or not? And honestly, when it comes to travel, I was on a business trip when 9/11 happened. And that was an interesting of all the leaders that were together and what happened and how do we get back to the location and all of that. So travel, I think you not only the rules of how much money do you spend, but also the leaders and who is going and how do you navigate through it.
Such important points that you just brought up. And when I was in corporate, I worked for a company. We actually planned the trips for companies. And so there were a number of clients who on 9/11, they had groups who were out and our company had to get them back. And
Wow.
I think it was just from a perspective as an employee, it was a good feeling to know that somebody knew where I was and that they could get me back, reroute a car, whatever it might be. We even
Mhm.
had situations where people, not often, but people would pass away during a trip. And how do you get their body back to their loved ones? And so it's really important, I think, for human resources to continue in that role
Mhm.
because you are dealing with people's safety in some ways. And obviously they're a third party, but it's good to know somebody's watching and can help.
I completely agree. I did a small season even in higher ed, um, later in my career, not too long ago, and even travel insurance, and talking about the security of of college students and what that looks like and where are they and all the different things and study abroad and thinking through that. So there's so many layers other than packing your suitcase and will it weigh enough, right? That's one of my problems I have. Will it weigh within the jurisdiction of 50 pounds or less? But more than that, it's safety. It's looking at the what could happen, the unforeseen that could or couldn't happen. So the insurance of it all, and it's great when you said you've worked for a company that are specialists in that. I think that's a great thing too. Sometimes you shouldn't do it all. Maybe you should have a third party that takes care of it for you.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And I remember I was meeting one of my executives and I was at the baggage claim and she didn't check her bags. So she said, no, 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 no more checking of bags. I have to teach you how to pack. And so I learned how to pack, which was really interesting because I think when I was on my honeymoon, I think I had 11 bags and it's so cumbersome. Like how much stuff do you actually need? But I learned how to pack, and now I rarely, if ever, check a bag, which is a great feeling. But
Oh,
I
wow.
want to talk a little bit about fashion because fashion's changed as well. One thing that really stands out to me is when I was in corporate, I was dressing as though I was on the East Coast because I was on the East Coast, but the companies I worked for were in the Midwest. And so I remember I was wearing a red suit, I had red nail polish, red lipstick, and I was really called out on that because I was told that the CEO sees red and gets very upset because thinking of the numbers and being in the red as opposed to the black. So I had to totally change the way that I dressed. And I said, I don't understand because where I live on the East Coast, this is how you show up.
Right.
So what are your thoughts about that when it comes to HR and how we dress? Because you can dress the way your clients dress, right? If they're in a casual industry, or you can dress the way you dress or the way your employer wants you to dress. How do we figure it out?
Good question. I think the first thing that you talked about, when it comes to perspective, it can be regional. I worked for, like I said, Fortune 100 companies, and I literally have worked from the West Coast, Portland, Oregon, Washington State, Utah, all the way up and down the East Coast, right? From Virginia, I had the Virginia, that region, Northeast region, and now I'm in the Midwest. And even though it's the same company, it's regional. So understanding the subculture is very important. And then the culture of the company. Like there's this one company, I did consulting, like Harley, like you better not show up in a suit. They expect you to show up in jeans. So when I worked for that consulting firm, so I think just understanding the need and understanding where you are. Now, I would say by generation, it's changed as well, right? Silicon Valley changed that. Of the concept of business casual. So you can wear a blazer and, speaking of jeans, wear jeans or slacks. So just the ideal of it. When we used to talk about interviewing, the best way we would tell people to prepare, even in consulting and interviewing, is always dress a step above what the regular attire is. So if it's blue jeans, then you interview with khakis. If it's business casual, they wear khakis, wear a suit. So, that's kind of the litmus test of just figuring out what is the culture and asking. And I do that when I visit, different clients now, of what is the expectation in business, because you don't want to show up and they're like, oh, why are you overdressed? And then they feel uncomfortable and think you're stuffy, right? Overuse of a word. Or if you're underdressed, they don't think you take it seriously. So that's one of the key questions, ironically, that I do ask, or not ironically at all, of what is the culture and what are the expectations of dress? Because it's perceived as a nonverbal communication.
Absolutely. And people can make an assessment very quickly as to whether or not they think you're going to fit into the culture.
Yes.
I remember I was traveling to our headquarters and I was in jeans, which is interesting because I don't ever wear jeans. I don't know why I was wearing jeans, but I had a jacket. And anyway, my luggage was lost. This is before I learned how to pack. And I had to go to the meeting, the big company meeting, in the same clothes. And I was called out on it. And I said, I'm really sorry, but my luggage was lost and we got in late. And they really didn't want to hear that. You have to have some alternative plan, which is always have a change of clothes in your personal item that you're carrying with you. So that really made an impression as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny that you said that. I didn't learn different fashions or my own style until I was actually later in life, and when I actually went into consulting. When I worked in corporate America, I still love a good suit. But now to have the luxury of, I'm wearing like a dress I can dress it up and then I can dress another layer by a jacket, like understanding the different layers and what you can do to accessorize. I think it's so amazing. So I didn't have that luxury until I started actually in the consulting business of, oh, how do you dress down? How do you dress up? What are the different things in which, if I have to see one client and then go to another within the same trip, how can I change it up with the same clothes? And so I think anything, like people say, basic black is the way to go. And then you can up and down it by the accessories that as females, the accessories that you have.
Absolutely. I want to combine fashion and travel now. When we think about the fact that if we're working for an employer, or maybe we have our own business and we're traveling, but we just feel like wearing loungewear, or we feel like wearing sweatpants or something, is there a time and place where we don't have to worry or care about the fact that we're a brand ambassador for either ourselves or for someone else?
Ooh, I like how you said brand ambassador. I'm going to have to repurpose that. I think there is a time and place once you figure out where the culture is. There's some cultures that are more personable and kind of family oriented, and there's some cultures that aren't, that you don't. So really it goes back to understanding the culture, right? So there's some places that wants to spend time together, and even how you introduce yourself, they may hug you a little bit more, and there's others that don't do that at all, and you have personal space. So I really, once again, not just even asking from a regional, like we talked about from the United States, but talking even from a cultural standpoint within different countries as well, can be very, very different of, personal space, clothing, fashion, and where that is. And there's certain places, that I love their concept of fashion that I wish I could know more about. I'm just learning still. I'm still learning how to be fashionable, per se.
It's definitely an evolution, but you always look great every time I've
Thank
seen you.
you.
When we think about the company handbook, for example, there are many people who are very creative, and maybe they're in a creative role. They like to express themselves, and maybe they're doing something with they have their hair is a different color. Maybe they have tattoos, or maybe they have piercings.
Mm.
So, how does a company handle this by enabling someone to be themselves, and yet maybe the culture is more conservative?
That's very interesting. You make me think of what I think the most magical place on earth is actually the most strict when it comes to their brand, and that is Disney. Disney has the most from tattoos, piercings, especially for the characters, right? You can't do that and how to cover that up. And so it really is kind of the word you said, branding, ambassador branding, the branding that the company wants to portray. There are certain companies, even I know, like UPS and things like that. I'm not want to call them out, not to say that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that the places you assume like that, how you feel as a customer receiving is different than the employer branding. So you have employer branding and you have consumer branding, right? And so to make the consumer feel a certain way, it may limit how the employee can be within that branding and what that looks like. I'm going to go extreme. You have Hooters too, right? So you have so many different brandings of what is allowed or not. I think the biggest thing when we transition to fashion that it goes to when it comes to human resources that I've seen the evolution is what are the employees' rights, the employer's rights, and what does the law say about it? And that's what we have to really start thinking about, because there are some legislation now that talks about what can you as an employer say or, demand from your employees or the expectations that you have.
Very intriguing questions that you have there. So I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into that.
Hmm.
So this is an actual story that I remember very well. I was working with someone on my team in corporate, and then the company had some kind of, I don't know, we softball game or something, and so people were now wearing fitness attire, and the person had their arms were all tattooed all the way down to here. It was like a sleeve, and so even
Mm.
up to here. But you never would have noticed it because they were wearing dark colored shirts. And so the person was called out about it, saying that they should really cover that up. And the person said, absolutely not. This is, I'm exercising. I'm not going to be wearing heavy clothing in the sun. And so that was a real dichotomy at the time. And the company ended up putting something into the handbook about that. So, what are your thoughts?
If the company's paying you to be there, they're paying you to be there, regardless of how and why of what those expectations are. If you're representing who the company is, that's why in some handbooks they even say, like, the paraphernalia of the name of the company, that if you were to leave the company, you were to either throw it away, burn it, discard, or give it back to the company, because they don't want you giving it to Goodwill and anybody's wearing it, right? In a brand, or if something happens. So nonetheless, that person still is at a company event, right? And they are for whatever the brand, that if you're saying we're here for XYZ company, you're there for XYZ company. You're not for, Kendra Dodd LLC, right? Within that. And so even me, right? The brand that I have for when I'm trying to be, Kendra Dodd with my company name Fulfilled to Be will be different than the Kendra Dodd, the mom, and the Kendra Dodd, the wife. And so we just have to think about the roles we play and what role is that person playing during that time.
Such great points that you just made there. I love it. And something that comes to mind for me is, because this does come up for us. You work for a company, maybe you've got the company logo shirt, you've got a hat, you've got a pen, you've got whatever it is, and then you no longer work with them, or maybe you were on a team playing softball, part time, and now you're not part of the team. So, is it still okay to rep the brand where you're not part of it anymore?
Mhm. I think we have to think about it. There's so much you can do to a logo. There's a counterpart. He's a speaker and consultant, and he does certain things. And everywhere he goes, he literally every outfit. Like if we were interviewing, he would have his brand and logo. Like it is just so much you can do to branding, and some take it to understanding more than others when it comes to that marketing. But he has to realize he was in the phrase of marketing regardless. Like if that's what he did when he was others. Now, unfortunately, he's going to have to find maybe an outfit like, that is breezy, that has long sleeves and things of that nature, but he is still in the role of with the company.
That's a dilemma, but we have to really think about it. And when is it appropriate to be the brand ambassador and when is it not? Something else that comes to mind, this was brought up to me maybe 2 years ago. I had someone who was coming on to one of our shows, and the person had their own background with their own branding. And the person said, well, if I'm going to do the interview, I want to have my own background in branding. But it was a show where there were panelists. And so everyone had the same background. And the person said, I'm not going to do it. And at the time, I really didn't understand it because I thought, why can't you use this background? Because it looks nice when you watch it in big screen television. But now today I can understand. I can understand if you are coming on a show to do an interview about you and your organization, that it would be okay for you to have your branding. What are your thoughts?
I don't want to sound, contrite or, straddling the fence. I would say depends, right? What are you trying to accomplish? If it's a show where it's panelists where you're trying to brand yourself for one thing, or is it something where they're experts and you're trying to say wherever it is within the platform, I'm just a conduit. So I really, I hate to say depends in that situation. But if the person also, everyone has an option. The person didn't have to be on it, right? So if they feel like they can or not, I mean, there's people complaining about, okay, should you pay or not? Like, what are you yielding out of it? What are you hoping to get and gain out of it? So I would say that I hate to say it depends, but it really wasn't what you're trying to accomplish. But each person has a right to express what they want. It's just, what is the ultimate goal?
Very true. I like what you said, especially when we started the show about expectations. I think when you set the expectation, there's a boundary there and you have the option to accept it or not. But and we're getting off tangent for the show that we have today, but it's just interesting when we think about these various things that come up. So let's talk a little bit about fitness, because when we're talking about a personal journey of communication, well-being, obviously fitness plays a role. So are you a fitness enthusiast?
I am. I really, back in the day, I mean, and you're going way back. I'm going to bring up a person's name that I don't know if people have heard, Billy Blanks. Do you remember Billy Blanks with the VHS years ago?
No.
He was like kickboxing, right? So people still pay attention, but you can Google Billy Blanks later. But he had these VHS that you can do, and it was like cardio kickboxing. And I think his son tried to get into the business. Then I got into P90X. Insanity, things of that, and high intensity. The older I get, I can't do high intensity like I used to. But I'll tell you, when I started my own business, when I was thinking about my brand, who I was serving, I actually became a personal coach. I wanted the knowledge and information, because one of the things that hinder us from success is our health. And we use that as a crutch, an excuse, or that, I'm not saying it is a real hindrance. It is. I continue to struggle with it as well, because one part of my parents' family had obesity, and so fighting that is very hard for me. But yeah, I actually went through the course, went to class, did my internship, and became a certified personal trainer. So fitness, health is very, very important to me, and for personal reasons. My mother had cancer in her 40s, and my dad had his first heart attack and stroke in his 40s as well.
Well, thank you for your transparency and sharing that. I know that's tough.
Yeah.
But the fact that you got that certification, I'm sure that you were able to take some of the knowledge that you learned and apply it elsewhere.
Yes.
And the other thing I think was, I was also a certified personal trainer way back, is that you get that gift of helping someone. And what I found is I'm still certified now as TRX and yoga sculpt and something else, I think spinning. Thank you, spinning instructor. And it's the greatest joy that I've ever had when you have someone come up after class and they just say, wow, I really needed this today. Because what I found is, even for myself, the hardest thing is getting yourself to do it, to go wherever you're going, or maybe you're working out at home, but to just get that focus and say, this time is for me. I need this time. If I don't take this time And, we can get so caught up in our work that we just, we don't do it. So what are some of the things that you have said to clients, maybe to motivate them when it comes to a fitness journey? Or what are some things that you can take from your fitness journey to motivate people into what you're doing today?
That as long as you don't give up, it's not over. I think people think if they fall off the wagon and they don't, um, that it's over or things. Now, here's the thing. Now, if you get to a certain fit level, there is something called muscle memory, right? Your body can get back to it. But regardless of how far you fall, it may be hard. And I think that's what makes it challenging physically, emotionally. But start somewhere, right? Start with standing up. I actually purchased a year ago a treadmill for my standing desk, and I need to dust it off a little bit. I haven't used it as much, but I'll stand more and looking at how to move. So little by little in increments. But I think the biggest thing is we beat ourselves up when it comes to that arena. And and usually people notice when they've gotten too far, like, how did I get here? You don't realize the in between when you get there. It's probably when it's too much that you realize that it's hindering you.
Very true. By the way, I'm salivating over here about this standing desk because I've always wanted one. I'm always standing when I do the broadcast. What did you find were some of the results when you were using the standing desk?
Oh, I love it. But I had to find the standing desk for me. Like, my standing desk is huge, right? When you looked at all the other standing desks, and it wasn't cheap, because you have these little portion standing desks. My standing desk is an entire L shape. It's huge.
Wow. So it's a
And
piece of furniture,
it
really.
is really a piece of furniture. It was a doozy to put together. But it has so changed my lifestyle. Like, right now it's medium. Matter of fact, what to help me stand too is, instead of a regular chair, I have a drafting chair. Do you know, like a draftman's chair?
Yes.
So you can, like, it's easier to stand up instead of like getting up. So I have an ergonomic, and I believe in ergonomics. So I have an ergonomic stool, like right now. I'm actually, my feet couldn't touch the ground. So even I'm now, and it helps my posture that I'm higher up, and it's not, my standing desk isn't all the way down. I have my feet in the ergonomic, like, stool, and then I have my draftman's table. And I think what it does, it helps with my energy. So when I get tired, it's easier for me to stand up. So I could kind of stand up right now and you won't know I'm standing up and sitting down, kind of thing. So it's easier to also navigate the up and down instead of like sitting all the way up and sitting all the way down.
I love how you've made this a priority. I really
It is.
do. I admire that.
Mm-hmm.
With this standing desk, if you're on a call, would we act like, I'm thinking if I'm start walking, can you see that you're walking?
You can see that you're walking. It doesn't bother me. Matter of fact, I had a client, I don't know if that's her time. Like, when I do my coaching call with Kendra, I'm going to do my treadmill. And so she would do her treadmill. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'll do my treadmill too. So you can tell just by the movement if a person's walking, but that's when I'm being creative. It helps me be creative in those times. And I'll be able to, bring it. And the treadmill's foldable. So it's not in the way. It can tuck it. So it just folds open and close, so it doesn't take up much space.
How much does it weigh approximately?
Not much. There's wheels on it, maybe 40 pounds, if that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you have really piqued my interest. I'm going to be looking into this because I'm thinking I'm standing all the time anyway. I get some,
Mhm.
yeah, I love that. So fitness for me is definitely a priority. It sounds like it's definitely a priority for you. And I
Mhm.
think I want to tie it into fashion in a way because at 61, I am stronger than I've ever been, but my skin is not cooperating, sadly. So I've changed the way that I dress. And so I'm always in a dress. Always. I never wear pants. I mean, literally I just gave them away because I don't know. I don't feel like I like the exact shape that I have now. So I'm constantly mentally telling myself, get over it, move on, move on. So I work out harder and harder, but the skin is still not cooperating. So any suggestions, therapy session, how I how I can come to terms with this? Because I'm sure there's other people out there too who are always beating themselves up.
There are people that are a lot younger than you, Dr. Jacalyn, that has that problem. And there are so many things. I mean, Kim Kardashian has a whole line called Skins that help figure out how to shape your body. So I would say there are so many things out there that are a whole lot younger than you. And I'm glad that this is the most fit you've ever been in your life. So there are so many garments you can do that find those undergarments and put those pants back on. That's what I say. So there's so many, you would be amazed what's out there now. Tell you the truth, I wear them myself. I love them. I don't buy the skins Kim Kardashian level, but I'll buy the Amazon brand, and it makes me feel good. Because I'll tell you, when I've fluctuated in my weight, and like I said, it's a battle because obesity does run in my family. But when I'm bigger, I wear dresses and I layer. But then when I lose weight, I love wearing pants. But these little, one piece different things you can wear, they even have them for men now. Like there's so many things in which you can disguise that you can purchase. So
I'm
go for
learning
it.
so much from you. I love it. I
Mhm.
got to get some. I got to get my mother used to call pin money, like your pin money that you would set aside for things. So now I've got to get these undergarments, and I've got to
Yes.
get this standing desk. I love treadmill desk. I love it.
Hmm.
But I
Yeah.
do think when it comes to fashion, some of the things I've seen change over time are even in fitness classes what people are wearing. And I think to myself, when I was that age, did I ever wear that? I don't know, but people wearing very small pieces of clothing regardless of their size. And I one thing I do like is that they're embracing themselves, right? They're saying, you know what, this is who I am, I'm proud of who I am, as opposed to me putting on more layers of clothing. Someone said, will you live close to the beach? Do you ever go? I go, bathing suit? No way. No way. Not, I don't think 5 years or more, no bathing suit. So
Mm. That's funny that you'll say that. Like I was a one piece person because I didn't like my body. And you're right. There's a lot of, I'm proud of my body. But I'll tell you, talk about travel. I was in Hawaii in a more rural area and I had my one piece and I had to use the bathroom and it was like a hut. And it wasn't that many, and you could kind of see through the whatever bamboo or the trees or whatever it was. And I'm like, I will never do that again. Since then, it may look like the 50s and 60s two piece, but I wear a two piece from now on because I did not like that feeling and what happened. So there are so many even different two pieces you can wear now that are very appropriate.
yeah, it's true. I do remember when I went shopping for bathing suits, I'm going to say, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago. When you're in there, there's something about the lighting. You're like, wow, I look really good. And you go home, you're like, no, I don't look good at all. But that's the point of what I'm making because I am in a beach
Mhm.
town. And when I leave here shortly and I go back to Florida, people are dressed whatever way they're dressed. And I do see more people embracing their body type and just saying, you know what, I'm going to wear with my midriff, with my stomach showing or my legs. And, I'm a size, whatever size. They're not a size 0 or a size 2. And I look and I go, you know what, good for you having that confidence.
All it does is tell a story. That's all it does. Right? If you have stretch marks, it may tell a story that you've had more than one kid or 3 or 4 kids or a very, or it tells a story of, okay, you have muscle underneath and you have sagging skin. It tells a story of adversity. It tells a story of your life. And we are all living our life and we all have hills, mountains, valleys, everything to live by. And all it does is that I've lived and I am still happy to be here on this earth.
I think that is so beautiful. I know for myself, like under my belly button, if you were to go, it sticks out a little because I have ulcerative colitis. I've had it for 34 years. And my mom used to say, well, that's where your disease is. I'm like, yes, mother, I know. Thank you. She's like, you should wear it proudly because, you are a survivor all these years you've had it. So I love what you just shared there. It is all about perspective and really for your own well-being. If we're constantly beating ourselves up, and I want to segue from there to communication because how we talk to ourselves, whether it's what level of fitness we're at or we're not at, where we want to go, and our fashion sense or lack thereof in our own minds. So, how do you talk to yourself that you feel is really, you're proud of it? And I say it in a good way, not an ego way.
Mhm. I spend quiet time to myself. That's very interesting. That was the topic of, I do devotions as well. That was kind of the topic today. There's a saying that says, believe in yourself. And what does that mean? And what does that mean for people that are, if you have a spiritual belief outside of yourself? And what does that mean? Does it mean, is it yourself or not? But that self-talk that I say to myself, or that mindset that I give for myself, I think the biggest thing is, it's kind of, so here's my new fitness. So we're going to segue fitness is, I have a fight name. I do boxing, is Conqueror. And so even, and it's Conqueror with a K, is that I'm more than a conqueror. I can do this because I've done it before, right? You know, you can think of things in your past, just think of the things in your past that has happened, and did you get through it? Yes. Maybe not the way you wanted to, but you got through it. And I've had a lot of doozies in my life, throughout my life. And so that I reminisce on that, and then I become grateful. And so I think of the grateful things that I have, and then I'll say, okay, then what am I really excited about? So that's, I tell myself, and sometimes you have to do those affirmations, but even within my fight name, it's Conqueror. I'm more than a conqueror. I can do this because I've done it before.
It's so powerful, Kendra. Thank you for sharing that with
Thank
us.
you.
And by the way, boxing, I took boxing lessons for a long time. What a liberating feeling it is when you start hitting that bag or the person's, and it's great exercise. You're doing your footwork, you're moving around.
Hmm.
Would you recommend that as a not only just for your mental well-being, but also physical exercise to get into really good shape?
Absolutely. Now, I will say that with my personal training background and understanding the importance of muscle, it doesn't build the muscle like I want it to. It builds your heart and the stamina. So I would say it's a good complement. So, you know, I've been doing the boxing now almost a year. But I incorporated probably about 2 months ago some type of lifting. I have to, you know, the older you get, it's more important that you do lift. So I would say it's a part of a well balanced fitness plan.
I totally agree with you. I've segued away from the cardio as much as I used to do cardio. Now I do more weight training, because that really makes a difference. And even though the skin is not cooperating, you can still build the muscle. And from what I've read, it's all about weight training 4 days a week. And then I read somewhere 45 minutes of walking,
Hmm.
I think 5 or 6 times a day. But I do like spinning. I do like the boxing, but I'm not as focused on it as I used to be. I'm more focused on lifting weights, like what you were saying.
Yeah, it's really important. It helps with your back. It helps, you know, the older you get, you know, fall prevention. That's the main thing you don't want to do. And so I really am an advocate um, for any age, actually, to lift weights. I had a foreign exchange student that lived with us for 2 years, and she was really into Zumba. And I said, that's great. I'm like, you're young, but you really need to lift weights. And she was worried about the concept of bulking. And now she got into CrossFit, but it changes your body. The muscle is what shapes your body. Talk about fashion. Clothes will look completely different if you start losing weight, or not losing weight, but building, you know, weight and muscle. So she is such an advocate for understanding what muscle does to your body and how she feels. And she's in her, well, back then, early 20s. Now she's in her late 20s.
Weight training is so important, definitely. Our show is already over. 40 minutes has literally flown by.
No.
I looked at him like, what? So we have to share the ways that people can get in touch with you. So let's bring up your website. What's the most important area here in the website you'd like people to go to?
You know, I think, you know, you can go to the testimonials. You know, you can look at, if you want to understand what do I think about, my blogs. So there are my blogs if you go back, and then
Oh,
here are my services. Yep. Over second
blog.
to the right. Yep. Um, so you can find me there. I think that's very important. And then perspectives, if you want to click on perspectives, ta-da, that is my book. So if they want to learn more about how I can be better, how do I think about things, this is my book, and there's a link of purchasing it as well, that you can do this. So it has all the information to learn more about me, but also to help you. So immediately will be the blog, for more long term that you can work on. Here's my book as well.
Excellent. Thank you for that. All right. And let's also bring up your LinkedIn.
Yes, thank you.
hmm Okay, here we go.
Yes, there I am.
There you are. That's a great picture of you also.
Thank you.
By the
Thank
way, do you
you.
play chess?
Not as well as I used to. Not anymore. I do like the concept of it. My oldest and youngest were part of the chess team. So, yeah,
Oh,
they did a little bit of that. So, no, I love it.
I love it too. I have a chess set, but I don't have anyone to play with, so I started playing against myself, and I was always losing. I get it? No. So, okay. And here we have your Facebook.
Yes, that is my Facebook page. So you can find me there. You can find me there where you can find more of, Facebook. I say LinkedIn is more business strategy. Facebook will be more of a personal, some things and how I'm feeling and things you'll find about me. Like I had just even, so more of a get to know me. Who is Kendra Q? So you'll find a little bit more about that as well.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to spotlight you again and whatever you'd like to leave our audience with today as we close out this show.
Yes, no, thank you so much. I think the biggest thing is that no one is as important as you. You're as special as you. And I'm not saying that other people aren't important, but if you think of the airplane is that you got to put your oxygen mask on first before you help others. So if you're a natural nurturer, it's okay to be a nurturer, but also to continue to nurture others, you have to nurture yourself. And I just want to say that you are special and make sure you spend the time to buy that item you want in fashion, right? Take care of yourself from a well-being and fitness standpoint and making sure you do that. And so all the things we talked about with the fashion, with the travel and the well-being and that journey and personal perspective is very important. So I'm glad that they were here today and they can find me at kendraqdot.com.
Absolutely brilliant interview. Thank you. And of course, we
Thank
want to
you.
share the fact that you have recently joined our team
Yes,
and you are an elevated listener. So
I
welcome to
am.
the family. We're so
Thank
thrilled to have you
you.
with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be part of the team.
All right. Well, look forward to seeing you on another show.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.
Well, that's the end of our show, Fashion, Travel, and Fitness. Please do reach out to Kendra. You can watch this show and any of our shows over on our YouTube channels, I should say, USA Global TV and Radio and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Also, you can find us on Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV, and Roku Worldwide. Our next show is coming up. It's The Power of Etiquette and Manners, sponsored by the British School of Excellence and Mr. Philip Sykes. We'll be back shortly. We look forward to seeing you there. And now let's hear from Philip directly. USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents our partner and sponsor, Mr. Philip Sykes and the British School of Excellence. Building confidence, changing lives. And now, proudly presenting the Polished Professional.
On a transformative journey with the British School of Excellence's comprehensive suite of masterclasses, crafted to elevate your professional and personal life. 8 outstanding modules will elevate you to the next level. Module 1, Exploring Life's Purpose, delves into the depths of self-discovery, guiding you to chart your unique path to fulfillment and success. Module 2, Mastering Professional Presence and Confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, Learn the secrets of visual impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, Mastering Professional Etiquette and Communication Excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, Elegance and Eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, Unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, Mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, Mastery in Dining Etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.